Welcome to the Courage to Change with Karen podcast, the place where we get real about addiction recovery and celebrate the victories against struggle. I'm Karen Gardner, your navigator on this journey of healing, committed to uplifting families touched by addiction. Together, let's unravel the intricate dance of mind, body, and spirit with compassion, tenacity, and steadfast commitment. Hi, welcome to episode 22 of Courage to Change with Karen. I am Karen Gardner, and I am your host today on this adventure of recovery. I want to put a little reminder out for everyone that I have a course for you, Mastering the 12 Steps. So if anybody is interested in that, please shoot me a message or an email at karen@karengardner.com. or keep an eye on the show notes in the next couple weeks for the link to sign up for that. Okay? So today I'm going to read May 24th out of Courage to Change. It's page 145 if you have the Courage to Change meditation book. Okay? Here we go. In the words of Oscar Wilde, in this world there are only two tragedies. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. The last is much the worst. Translation: my will gets me into trouble. I aim for some goal or other, but even when I get it, I am rarely satisfied. It doesn't make my life complete, so I raise the ante, set a new goal, and push even harder. Or I don't get what I want, and I feel inadequate or deprived. Maybe that is why not one of the 12 steps talks about carrying out my will. The only times I have found lasting satisfaction were when I let go of self-will and committed myself to seeking the will of my higher power. Prayer and meditation are two means by which I seek to discover what God's will holds for me. And they help me to gain access to the power to carry it out. Sometimes my hopes and desires are forms of guidance. When I am willing to place God's will above my own, those dreams have a chance of becoming a wonderful reality. Okay, I'm going to read that again. Pretty good. Ready? In the words of Oscar Wilde, in this world, there are only two tragedies. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. The last is much worse. Translation: my will gets me into trouble. I aim for some goal or other, but even when I get it, I am rarely satisfied. It doesn't make my life complete, so I raise the ante, set a new goal, and push even harder. Or I don't get what I want and I feel inadequate or deprived. Maybe that is why not one of the 12 steps talks about carrying out my will. The only times I have found lasting satisfaction were when I let go of self-will and committed myself to seeking the will of my higher power. Prayer and meditation are two means by which I seek to discover what God's will holds for me, and they help me to gain access to the power to carry it out. Sometimes my hopes and desires are forms of guidance. When I am willing to place God's will above my own, those dreams have a chance of becoming a wonderful reality. Today's reminder: the path to my true heart's desire is to surrender to the will of my higher power. The path to my true heart's desire is to surrender to the will of my higher power. Boy, this is a good reading. It's true. It is true. We want something, we get it, we don't want it anymore. You know what I mean? It's a terrible dilemma. I think it must be the human condition, is you always want what you can't have, and you get it, and then you're like, oh, this isn't enough. The grass is always greener, that kind of thing. I do think it's the human condition. I do think that's part of the problem. I mean, to be truly grateful and in the moment is God's will for me. To be truly grateful for what I have. What I have today is what I was asking for 6 months ago. You know, if you really think about it like that, the things I get, the things I accomplish aren't always worth it. You know, they're just, I don't know. I'm kind of in it right now. I'm going through a huge life shift. And so, you know, I wonder, you know, I have dreams and desires of what I want to do, what I want to, when I leave the planet, what message I want to leave behind, what I want to put in place for the world before I leave. And, you know, I haven't had much success. Keep hitting walls. And, I wonder, you know, today I went for a walk this morning with my dog Posey, and I thought maybe this isn't God's will for me. But in the past, every time God's will, you know, it was very obvious to me what I was supposed to do. Things fell in my lap, directions were pointed out. It was always really clear. And this time it's not really clear. But I was walking and I was asking, you know, the universe, higher power, whatever. I was asking my higher power, you know, why haven't you given me some kind of sign? What do you want me to do? And the thought came to me that I'm supposed to do what I'm doing, right? I'm supposed to continue doing what I'm doing. And I don't know. That just kind of hit me that maybe I am right where I'm supposed to be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It doesn't feel good. Trust me, I don't like this feeling. And you know, I don't know. I think maybe I've gotten too attached to what I think I need. And I'll be honest, I've gone through this lesson before. And what I've learned is some of the things, well, first thing, some of the worst things that have ever happened to me have ended up being the best. And think about that. Some of the worst things that ever happened to me have ended up being the best things that ever happened to me. And it's hard to explain, but I have learned that I really don't know what's good and bad. You know, I really don't know what I want. I want it, and then I get it. And like it says, I'm going to set the goal higher. I'm going to change it. I'm going to, you know, put it up for sale, whatever it is, you know, and to seek God's will in my life means that I have to put aside my own ideas, you know. And when they don't work out, the problem is I do exactly what this reading says. Right here it says, if I don't get what I want, if I can't accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish, I feel inadequate or deprived. I don't know if I feel deprived, but I do feel inadequate. My self-esteem drops. I get tired. I get run down. I feel like, what's the point? You know what I mean? What's it all about, Alfie? You know, and that's just a state of mind. You know, that's not really real. But boy, I like to buy into it. And I can't afford it. You know, I don't want to afford it. I want to do God's will. You know, I want God to run the show. I don't like running the show anymore. However, I seem to have taken control at some point in the past. Maybe the last year. I think maybe it's been since my mother passed, which was in 22. So, you know, it's just been 2 years now since she passed. And I think I took over, you know, I took over the show, feeling like I needed to, you know, she was gone. I was going to step into this role in the family. And, you know, I've not been able to do that. Things aren't exactly the way I want them. Things are not going the way I planned. I had a plan. And it's not going that way. So I'm trying to let loose and let it correct itself. When you're flying a plane, I don't know if I've ever told you this before, but when you're flying a plane and you put it on autopilot, it's hardly never on autopilot. It's always correcting itself. It's correcting the course, right? Every, you know, it flies a little bit and it starts going off track, so it corrects itself. It flies a little bit, corrects itself, right? And I think I'm in a correction. I've got to correct myself back to my, to my purpose here, the will of a higher power, and the will of my higher power is to not struggle and to not feel bad and less than. And like I failed at something, I don't think that's what God wanted when he put me here. So I need to let go, I need to see where this is going to turn. And, it's an uncomfortable feeling. Nobody likes that feeling like you've made a mistake. But like I said, some of the mistakes I've made have been the best thing I've ever done. I just don't know it yet. I can't see the big picture. Some of the smartest things I thought I ever did have ended up being the worst. So what do I know? I don't know too much. I don't know too much. I know to be happy and free of this kind of thinking, that I'm always, less than or behind the eight ball, or I should have done something different, relationship wise, financially, physically, whatever it is, I always feel like, somebody else would have done it better. Somebody else knew the answers and I got the wrong answer. I gave the wrong answer, and that's not true. I love something I heard the other day in a meeting. This woman was saying, what did she say? She can't good girl herself into God's graces, and she can't bad girl herself out of God's graces. And that really hit me. I really like that, and I've been talking about it a lot. So if this is not the first time you've heard it, it's because it made such a huge impression on me. I really have attached myself to my childhood upbringing of, the religion that was brought into the house. And I didn't realize how much until I realized how bad I was feeling about the mistakes I'd made, and I don't know why we put that kind of pressure on ourselves. Like there's some kind of a competition, I was supposed to marry this person and we were supposed to do this and I was supposed to blah, blah, blah. And, there's no such thing. I think life is what your path is, what your path is. And my path has been, I've had a bumpy path. But I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for everything I've gone through. And, I guess it's time. I thought the roller coaster came to the landing, and the ride was, I was going to be able to get off and relax a little. And I guess it's going around. I gotta get back in and buckle up, because there's a couple more trips around this roller coaster that I gotta take. And that's not bad. It gives me more experience to help people. The only thing that labels it bad is me. God's will is God's will. And my life is better when I'm doing God's will. And things go beautifully, right? It's just easy. And so I need to do that. I'm recorrecting. Maybe you can relate to that right now. My autopilot of God's will is in correction mode to get back on path, to get back on track. And rightly so. I mean, think about it. It's June right now. We're halfway through the year. Doesn't it feel like we just started? When we started the new year, I had this big calendar and I put everything on it, that I was going to do. And by this date, this would be accomplished and this would be this way and this would be that way. And I'm looking at it and nothing went that way. Those were expectations I set up that maybe weren't God's will. The only thing that's been consistent for me is this podcast. Well, my meetings and my program. But as far as like my business stuff that I set up that I wanted to do, this is the one thing that's been easy and so helpful to me personally. And I know if it's helping me, it's helping you. So this has been a great cathartic thing for me, this podcast. And, I do wish I had more one-on-one with people so I could talk to people, or I could at least see your little faces, I'd like to see some faces. But I do get emails and messages from people that say they really enjoy this time. No, do I have millions of followers or listeners on this? No, I don't. But I'm sure the people who are listening are enjoying it. I hope so. It's just a good time to think about the readings and talk about it, what's going on in my life. I wish I could share what you think about the reading. I wish I could hear you share. Be like a little mini meeting. Because I always learn so much from listening to others. I really do. So I'm really grateful to be here today. I'm going to try to stay in the moment for the rest of the day. Stay in gratitude for what I have. Not worry about what's going to happen, which is really hard when you have fear. And just try to ask God, direct my thinking. What should I be doing next, right? What would you have me do? And I think that's a good plan of action today. I hope you decide to try the same thing. Let's just row our boat gently down the stream. Let's not try to paddle upstream today. Row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. I believe it. I got to quit swimming upstream. Right? Anyway, I love you all. Have a wonderful week. And if you can, shoot me a message. Let me know what you thought.